This past season, the North Central College women's lacrosse team finished its campaign just one game short of the NCAA tournament. Only 5 seasons earlier, the Cardinals were in their inaugural season, a move years in the making. But why women's lacrosse? And what's the next sport to be added to the Cardinal family of athletics? We took a look at what goes into that process for this Division III powerhouse. North Central College's athletic resume includes 30 team national championships, nearly 120 individual national championships, and continued success has been maintained in recent years. The football team is in the national discussion each season.
Another return for a touchdown for the Cardinals.
The men's basketball team ventured into rarefied air this past season with its first trip to the national Final Four. And North Central's track and field team has remained dominant for years. The men and women swept the 2013 indoor and outdoor CCIW crowns, while the cross-country squad claimed a second consecutive national championship and third in 4 years. But every so often, room for something new comes along.
We really wanted to add another women's sport. We thought that was really important. And there was some call from some of our students on campus that women's lacrosse would be something that they would be really interested in.
This was back in 2008. At the time, no other CCIW school had a varsity program. In fact, the closest program to Naperville was Adrian College in Michigan, a 4-hour drive away. But that didn't stop the school from exploring the addition of the sport. After research, a slightly inflated program budget was sent to the budget committee because of possible travel for the team.
A lot of other places have added women's lacrosse, but at first we were going to have to go to the West Coast, to the East Coast, to St. Louis in order to actually make the number of competitions that we needed. So we had to have a pretty good budget that would support that kind of travel.
We had a goal to be the first team in the conference, the first school in the conference to offer it as a varsity sport. We want to do it, we're going to do it. Let's just start with varsity and see where the chips fall where they may from a recruiting standpoint.
The chips fell in some interesting places once they went ahead with adding the team. Only a few players had any experience playing the game. Many were pulled from other varsity sports like soccer. The Cardinals went winless in their first season and won only 4 games the next, but it got better.
The growth in the makeup of the team, it kind of mirrored the growth of the program overall. Just having seen them grow from a group of girls with nothing better to do to a group of serious lacrosse players in just 5 years, it was pretty remarkable.
This past season, the Cardinals finished second in the 3-year-old Midwest Women's Lacrosse Conference, losing the postseason conference tournament by only 1 goal to Augustana College. Over the next 2 seasons, the MWLC will add 6 programs for a total of 15. And by next season, there will also be 5 CCIW schools with women's lacrosse programs. A conference needs 7 teams for an automatic qualifier to the NCAA tournament, so it might be a few years before we see the NCC women's lacrosse team in a CCIW branded conference. North Central's family tree of athletics now includes 22 sports, 11 for each gender, but the balance is more symbolic than necessary. In Division I sports, much is made about Title IX, the 1972 law that's most well known for giving women equal access to sports opportunities.
The balance of having an equal number of sports to the men's and the women's, it's really less of an issue for us because there's not scholarship money involved. But it certainly is something that we like to be able to do here, is be able to offer the same amount of sporting opportunities for men as well as women, because not all the schools that we compete against are able to do that.
So that leaves the possibilities for a future North Central sport wide open. But officials at the college don't want to add a program just for the sake of adding it.
The bottom line is that there's a lot of variables that you need to consider, and you need to ask a lot of other questions. Why are you adding? What does that mean? Who is it impacting?
Much of the impact of a possible new sport could be quantified in the facilities crunch. Where's the new team going to practice? Where are they going to play? In which season do you put the team to minimize impact on the other sports? That's one of the bigger issues as North Central continues internal discussions on the possibility of a new sport down the line.
We've done an investigation for men's volleyball. This area is a hotbed for men's volleyball. We don't have a facility problem. Men's lacrosse, certainly, that's been added. The only problem we have is really space, practice facilities and opportunities, and when that's offered during the fall, running into all the fall sports that we offer.
There's also questions of how the sport is funded, how much equipment needs to be purchased, and who will coach the team. Space is an issue, but just one of many. After all of that, the hope is that enrollment increases and feeds the academic side of the institution.
We need to be the best athletically. We need to bring in the best students so we can have more and more academic success. And I think we've done a really good job in the training of our student athletes to be leaders.
And that couldn't be more true than for Danielle Fiala, who leads the North Central women's lacrosse team as the career leader in goals, assists, shot attempts, and draw controls. The recent Cardinal alum will take the experiences she's learned in Naperville into a day job. She's been named the head coach for a brand new lacrosse program out of Wartburg College in Iowa. She leaves behind a legacy of helping a new program off its feet. As far as the next new program goes, stay tuned.
There's a lot of research and a lot of discussion that goes on with different folks on campus, trying to figure out all the different angles that's going to affect the campus community. So I think it's good that process takes as long as it does, because it forces you to consider all the different angles.
With that in mind, we probably won't see a new sport at NCC for a few years, but that doesn't mean the college is laying dormant. While Fiala's hard at work getting ready for Wartburg's first season, it doesn't get underway until 2015.